Oh boy. And here we go. Another little thing, kind of like a side quest that popped up in my feed today, but the whole more of show don't tell. Um, I'll sometimes write in my setup like, yeah, he was terrified, and then I'll put in a little like whatever monster they're running from, or whatever's chasing someone, or some sort of ugly looking thing that's crawling around a bunch of ruins. And then I'll just put in a smattering of dialogue and something that will keep the whole entire plot keep moving forward. Because for me nowadays, stuff like Wheel of Time moves too slowly. Stuff like Sword of Truth moves way too slowly. I find that as I grow older, it's just I don't want to spend as much time, you know, going through pages and pages of stuff where it's like, okay, you gave a whole lot of exposition about the background of your world, and some people probably genuinely do enjoy that. They like eating up the scenery, but I don't have time for that nowadays with my own writing and everything. So I like to find books that go wham bam, thank you ma'am, get to the point of the conflict and a few other things. Or if you're doing a whole series, then have a bunch of the smaller conflicts lead into the bigger conflict and then wrap it up. It's the reason why in some cases I've kind of like just dropped out of whale reading altogether. Again, it's just for me, the circumstances are changing and I don't have as much time to like invest in a series that I think honestly my cap for most series at this point will probably be like maybe 10 250 page books. Cuz I can get through a 250 page book in a day or two, if I don't let more writing distract me. See, that's the fight I have now. Do I write another 2 to 4,000 page, like not 2 to 4,000 pages, but 2 to 4,000 words, or do I take time out to take a few hours to read? Because usually most of my writing sessions on not on standard work days are usually 2 to 3 hours. Like I'll probably put in like 2 hours before work, and then I'll put like in another hour and a half after work because I usually work till 11 p.m. nowadays. Um, and then on days off, I'll do like 2 to 4 2-hour sessions of writing. I'll still do other things in between, like trying to catch up with videos and things like that. But this is just kind of like freeform thoughts of the day. To me, let's see. Let's see. What's the thing I can showcase on this particular thing here? Like for me, the show versus don't tell. Brian pursed his lips and clenched his fist into tiny, tight balls. Try as he might, he could not contain himself. Within seconds, he erupted like a volcano. Versus the tell part, where Brian was angry, he started to yell. I would add with the tell part, because I prefer that. That gets to the point much quicker. That's what I'm all about. I would put, like, after he started to yell, I would say he crumpled up some pieces of paper and threw it at whatever the object of his upset is. But that's just a personal preference. I've noticed that people that aren't coming out of like more of an American background, especially with the Star Shatter stuff, I'll probably link that below too. That guy does a whole lot more telling. He, even though he has like longer chapters and his paragraphs aren't as broken up, like me, I followed a friend's advice to like break things up into smaller bits just to make it easier on the eyes. So I do that now personally in my writing. But even so, the first book of Star Shatter is more like a bunch of the main characters, like you're getting their initial setup, and then he moves on to the next story where it looks like he's working on getting this ensemble cast of people together towards the end, if I had to guess, because I'm only up to the third chapter right now. And each chapter seems to be about 15 to 20 pages, but they kind of tell like a miniature story within the like kind of greater whole, which is fine. But I've noticed, since he doesn't have an American background, he doesn't go for the overabundance of showing everywhere. To me, showing slows down the narrative to a crawl. It's the reason why I really can't read Wheel of Time anymore. It's the reason why I have a hard time getting through Sword of Truth again. When I was younger, I read most of Sword of Truth, like what came out, in my high school and early college years, because I had more free time. And you know what? Probably if I had started writing sooner, this probably wouldn't have developed as much. But once you go on the writing side of things, depending on what you want to develop as a writer, you're going to start preferring certain kinds of setups over others. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Another thing from this example, an ache started deep in his stomach. He turned away as his eyes welled up with tears, and then the tail part is saying he felt sad. I would start off with he felt sad, and then I wouldn't spend too much time knocking myself out of the narrative by describing a bunch of biological functions that are related to someone getting upset or someone feeling sad. Like, if I do happen to mention it, because I do a little bit of showing in Uplift Protocol, but not much of it, because me personally, I prefer that the story be like 95% telling. That's the reason why whenever I see 1-star reviews that complain about this, I will pick up that book and take a look at some chapters, like the sample, to see if it catches my fancy. Because I'm actively looking for books that tell me a story. Again, Florida Woman doesn't have much free time nowadays, so I'd rather be able to feel like I've made a good dent in somebody's story by getting a few chapters in before I have to go to work or things like that, rather than just constantly because I see showing as speed bumps. It's like, boom, oh, we're going down to 50 miles an hour. Boom, we're going down to 30 miles per hour. The main focus of the narrative slows to a crawl to where the snail could beat you. And again, it's like a popular thing for a lot of American writing nowadays, but for me, it doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't. Even to compare a more well-known series like Harrington, my eyes start to glaze over when Mr. Weber starts to go in his technical kind of setups with how the ships operate, and where Florida Woman just wants to does the ship pew pew? The ship pew pews? Awesome. Let's keep going. Because I might read a few sentences of the technical stuff, but for me, Weber's main draw for me isn't when he goes on his technical stuff. I think he does some character setups pretty well, so my mind is automatically latching onto that instead. But that's one big thing. If you do, honest to God, start writing and putting stuff together yourself, you'll find out what you prefer as a reader. It'll be easier to pinpoint. Older, more pulpier style stuff, like even the X-1 stuff, they have to get to the point quick because they're little 30-minute story segments, and so they have to have the start, middle, and end, the rising action and the kind of the tail off there at the end, the closer, happen wham bam thank you ma'am. So I think that's the reason why I wanted to really start with Up as a serial, because yes, the story is building up on itself and everything else, but if you just want to read stuff into like 2 to 4K word spurts, that's what it's there for. And later on, like I said, I'll put everything in collections. That's why I'm prepping it, as much as I can now, because by the time I get around to releasing all the books in ebook format and everything else, all the internal arts will probably pretty much be done, because I figure if I keep on my track record of paying Old Con every payday, well, hey, we could have I think we're going to definitely have more than 5 per omnibus at this rate that we're going at. So there you go. I'm not honestly going to estimate how many kind of like a little art inserts will be in there, because I don't want to put Old Con on the spot. we're taking it one page at a time with what other interesting kind of crazy pew pew and superhero shenanigans can we put into each of these lovely arts. So there you go, everybody. That's kind of my daily ramble for the day. See ya.